Alright, a day in the life of a plumber. So I got my schedule ready today, and I know I'll be doing a shower valve later. So I'm doing that here on the bench vise. There's a bunch of, just plumbing tools. I'm doing a pressure regulator later, so I got it sorted out too. It's about 7 or so, and once I get all this, we'll start running calls. Alright, so I got all that stuff sorted out. We got a bunch of things to do today, and so I've got it punched into the GPS. We're going to do, let's see what's first on the list. A water heater and a sump pump. So probably what happened is the sump pump died. The water rose high enough that it choked the water heater out. So it's really probably just the one problem in relighting the water heater if they haven't already done that. Alright, let's go. Alright, so my guess was wrong, but essentially the sump pump's working fine, but it's got a leak somewhere right in here. Maybe the plastic wrapped around that joint. That fern comb has water on top of it, so we know it's leaking from at least that point. But the dripping is right down there. I think that joint's also leaking. So we'll probably end up replacing that section right there. Also, the pump float keeps getting stuck on that lip, so we kind of will move it around a little bit. Then the water heater is 18 years old. It's still getting hot, but you can see it's leaking, so it'll need replaced. That being said, good news, the sump pump is on its own isolated breaker the way it should be. There's a check valve down in there. You can't really see it, but it looks pretty good. The water heaters really don't need this insulation anymore. That's just kind of more of a hazard than a benefit. She's missing an expansion tank, which she'll need. And then look at this little fail up here. There's a Fernco 90, and there's another one, and then it goes up, and then there's another one at the top of that stack, and then there's one right there. So kind of a plumbing fail, having so many Ferncos. But that being said, everything else looks pretty good. So that customer was one of my home warranty customers, and so essentially I get diagnosis and then I call it in, and then the warranty company has to sort out this and that, so it can take some time. But thankfully she still has hot water, it's just leaking, and then the sump pump wasn't that bad, it's just leaking down into the pit. And so once I have authorization from them, I will return and swap that stuff out. I called my next customer because that went way quicker than I thought it was going to go. And so I'm ready to move ahead and go to the next one. In Lee Summit, I am installing a pressure regulator. All right, we'll see you. All right, so everybody always asks how I see, and it's like I've got this light right here. And so everybody always says, do you need more light? I'm like, no, I've got a headlamp. And so I've been filming in vertical. That's not good. Anyhow, all right, pressure regulator. This lady, I was here the other day because she just bought the house, and she called and said, hey, I got your information from somebody, but my dishwasher is not draining right. And I was like, that might be an appliance problem, not a plumbing problem. Anyways, so I showed up and checked it out, and they installed a new garbage disposal, but they didn't knock the plug out. So it was super simple to knock that plug out, and then she got going again. But on her home inspection, they had mentioned that her water pressure was too high, and so I gave her a price for that, and she said, well, I just bought a house, and funds are tight, yada yada yada, but I'll call you when I'm ready to replace that. And so I'm back. All right, so her water pressure right now, ooh, she must have had something running. When she turned it off, it spiked, so it's just above 120. So in addition to her pressure being too high, this one's also leaking right there. So we will cut that out and she'll be good to go. All right, so the new valve is in and the water is back on. Time to go check pressure. Water pressure's still a little high, so we're gonna have to go adjust it again. All right, so we got that pressure adjusted properly, and then I changed a couple flappers for her just because she said the toilets sounded like they were running. But with her pressure was originally 120, that can definitely cause problems with the fill valves wearing out prematurely. So it may be the fill valves might have been the problem, and so I just made her aware, and she'll keep an eye on it. While I was doing all this and that, I got 2 more calls. One for a lady that needs a gas line installed in Lake Tapawingo, and then I had another one who's got a leaking toilet. So I got them scheduled. I've got a few more that I still need to schedule, and since I'm moving ahead of schedule, I'm going to call them now, get them on the schedule, and then I'll start on the next person. So, all right. All right, so I got most of my other calls scheduled, but now I am at my next one here for a sump pump. We'll go. So that call was for a sump pump failure, so I thought, but then when I got here and go down in the basement, they don't even have a sump pump, so it's like, not really much I can do to fix your watery basement, but I can give you a price to install a new one. So we'll move right on. All right, so the water heater isn't firing up, so there's a lot of things that could cause this. We've had a lot of flooding, so sometimes that chokes it out. And check this high limit switch, that wasn't tripped. So we have a few more things to check. First is make sure that the gas is on. All right, so we got the tank to kick on. A bit of orange in there though. Not usually a good sign. All right, I called tech support on that one to get the part number for the gas valve, and the lady said that it may be something related to the burner assembly, and so kind of clean that up a little bit to make sure that wasn't a problem. Now I have to call the warranty company and let them know that, hey, I was here a month ago, worked fine after I cleaned it, now I'm gonna try to clean it again. There's no indication of any failure, like the high limit switch isn't tripped, the gas valve turns on and off just fine, the pilot works fine. The homeowner said that they did spray cologne down there, and so that may have been why the flame was orange. And so as a lesson for everyone, don't spray anything combustible near your gas water heater. Alright, so I'm just driving along now to the next customer. I'll wait to hear back from the warranty company on what they are going to do there. Since it was already a recall, we may just be able to get that gas valve locally and just get her swapped out. But I don't know if that's really the solution there. It's unusual for a water heater that has an actual problem to work for a month and then not work again. Usually you'll know within a day or two, maybe a week. But a water heater that works for a month and then dies again is very unusual. So yeah, my next call is one that came in early this morning that I really wanted to get to because it's a gas leak, or the lady says her husband smells gas and she does not, and so he tried to spray bubbles and this and that, and so obviously if there's a gas leak we gotta fix that ASAP. So all right, we'll go from there. All right, so I'm headed to that gas leak smell job, and I just wanted to say that sometimes everybody's perception of smells are different. So sometimes I'll get a call about like, oh, I smell gas. I've had sometimes where it's actually like dead rodents, where it's like, this is what that funky smell is. I had one where it was like mothballs. Sometimes it's like a sewage smell. I mean, there's a million things that can cause a smell. But gas lines generally don't just leak gas for no apparent reason. Sometimes you'll have like a regulator will put out gas just like naturally. They just do. So if you go to like your gas meter and you sniff around it, you may smell gas, but that's normal. So we'll see what we find. So I don't claim to have a super sniffer or anything like that, but I'm very familiar with what natural gas smells like. And so a lot of times what I'll try to do is just go in and see if I can smell, gas obviously leaking from somewhere. But this lady has at least one pet, one dog, and so I cannot smell anything but animal. And so that's going to make this a little difficult. So what I do in that situation is get my handy dandy rigid combustible gas detector, and this will tell us generally if there's a leak. So we got to get it started so it can get acclimated to what no gas smells like, and then when it detects gas, it will beep, it will vibrate, and it will light up. And so this is not the most precise tool in the world. The gas company has one that's way more expensive. They're like $5,000, but this is just as suitable for my purposes. So in addition to having dogs, the lady also smokes, so I couldn't smell anything. And so I had to get the combustible gas detector out, and it didn't pick up anything either. And so it's like, I don't smell anything. This doesn't smell anything. I'd say just keep an eye on it. The next steps, it gets a little complicated, but basically you want to call the gas company. They can come out, figure out exactly, their machine will tell you everything about the gas line, and where it's leaking and any of that. But then it can get very expensive to repair, just depending on what all is involved with repairing. So I got a phone call from Barnett, which is a supply house. They have dropped off a bunch of packages, so now I gotta go get those and get them inside and load them into the van, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I got some sump pumps, some expansion tanks, and then it's always like Christmas plumbing stuff. So here's a waste and overflow for a tub that I used the other day. All of these are brass unions for a water heater, little plugs for going in the floor drain, and I think that's it. So I will kind of stuff those away. It's about lunchtime, and since I'm moving so far ahead of schedule, I'm gonna take some of this stuff to scrapyard, old sump pumps and just random junk, try to get rid of it. So the other benefit of taking the scrap on Mondays is that we pass a Highboy, and they've got the double cheeseburger special with tater tots and a drink. And so the scrap really isn't worth anything. It just takes up space in the garage, but it's cheaper than taking it to like a dump where it just sits in a landfill. For scrapping it, I've got like 3 disposals and maybe 4 sump pumps. I'd be surprised if I even get $5 for it. It's really not worth much. Brass and copper can be, but I don't really have a ton of that. It takes a while to build that up because you try not to, cut out excessive amounts of plumbing if at all possible. Faucets have a lot of plastic components and this and that, so we'll see what I get. So wouldn't it figure the scrapyard was closed? Great. Loaded up all those sump pumps and garbage disposals for nothing. But it does mean I get to still go to Highboy. So I'm going to show you how the combustible gas detector works while I'm sitting here at the Highboy. First you have to turn it on, and it'll kind of calibrate and get familiar with what non-combustible fuels, smell like. So it's just air, just smelling air. The only combustible I have is my hand sanitizer. And so this detects different kinds of gases, or different combustible materials. I don't know all of them, but I know it'll detect natural gas, propane, ethanol, stuff like that. So, okay, I will not think this through. But basically, I'll get some hand sanitizer on my hand, and we'll put it up there. Oh, see it? Saying, oh, there's something combustible. Move my hand. It'll take it a while to go away. See, it's saying, okay, it's going back down. And that's how it works. Pretty slick. All right, so this was my garbage disposal is not working call. And so I got here to diagnose it. It's not the garbage disposal at all. The drain line's just clogged. But there's no plumbing visible in the house at all. So we're just going to have to snake it and hope we get it out. Alright, so that was just a clogged kitchen drain. No big deal. I was able to auger it out and got their line open and flowing again. Tested the dishwasher and it pumped out just fine. So I have got one more call officially scheduled for today, but it is not until like 3 to 5, somewhere in that time frame. So it's just about 2 now. So I'm going to try to get ahead of the week and tackle a call I had originally scheduled for tomorrow, but it is just a garbage disposal and like part of a tubular drain line replacement. And so that shouldn't take very long, maybe an hour or so. And so if I can go get that done early today, that'll free me up for a spot tomorrow. Then I will head over to do that shower valve. And then I've got a water heater first thing in the morning. So I need to go pick up a water heater and clear out all the junk in the back that I loaded up thinking the salvage yards would have been open. And so that's kind of the plan for the rest of the day. Go home, do some invoicing, make some phone calls, and maybe be done by 6 o'clock or so. We'll see. Oh, got the disposal and the drain line installed. Looks good. Alright, so we got that garbage disposal and drain line knocked out, no big deal. I called my next guy for the shower valve that we were working on this morning about going right around 3:30 or so. He said he wasn't going to be home till 4. So that's going to give me a chance to run home, unload all those garbage disposals that I've got and the sump pumps, and then I can head towards him. And then that'll be pretty close to the end of the day. While I'm at home, just depending on how quick everything goes, I may make some phone calls and schedule other appointments or clean out the van and sort this and that out. That way I can just hopefully be done right around, maybe even before 5. Wouldn't that be nice? So I do a lot of talking on the phone while I'm driving because the van has Bluetooth, and that makes it super convenient to get things done while I'm driving. And so multitasking is the story of my life. I had a customer Friday that had an issue with his Pro Series pump. There was a combination system, and so I just called the professionals at Glentronics to get there to find out what exactly had gone wrong. And so I'm just adding this to my day because that's what I've done. Called them, talked to them, and then I called the customer and let him know, here's what his sump pump had a failure. There was a fault going off on his controller, and so it just explained what the deal was with it. So all right, so I got some free time to sort some scrap out. There's all the junk I was trying to get rid of, but couldn't, not today. So I still need to clear out some of this stuff to make room for a water heater I need to go pick up. All right, so now we're in the command center. I've got the 2 other calls that came in scheduled. I've got to write down another lady that we're doing Saturday, but I got a review from my first customer or second customer today So I need to respond to that. All right, back in the van, headed to this next guy. I'm gonna get there a little bit later than I thought, so it'll be right around 4:30. So I'm not gonna be done by 5, no chance. But the good news is that I got a lot done just then. I got materials ordered, and I talked to a handful of customers. That job in Lake Tepewingo, I am needing to get a license for the city, and so I called them to get all that sorted out, and then we'll go from there. So on to this guy, and then that'll be it for the day. All right, so he ripped the cabinets out. The shower valve's right there, but it's all PEX. Great. All right, so we got the trim plate off. I got a little hole to work with. Here's all the new cabinets that are going to go in. And so this is going to be a little bit of a chore to get out, but I think we can do it. Once we cut everything, it should come out. And we'll just have to press everything back together with couplings. So I had to cut that board out to get the old valve out. Now we're starting the reassembly process. We're going to change the shower or the tub faucet all to copper to give it a little more rigidity. You're really not supposed to run that in PEX. So here we are. All right, there it is. Looks good. 6:36, and I'm done, at least with that. But I gotta go to Home Depot to pick up some stuff that had been dropped off at the store for me. I might pick up a water heater while I'm there for my first customer tomorrow. Then I need to go home. I really need to sort out the truck because it's full of junk. I hadn't anticipated that valve being done with PEX, so I had to haul out a bunch of PEX tools as well as copper tools. The tub spout was done in PEX, which you can't really do that either. The tub spouts will flop around, so I had to redo that in copper and then secure it and all. In the end, it went really well though, I think. So he was happy, guaranteed for life. So everybody wins. All right. Well, a guy called, and I was headed to Home Depot, but he lives right over there by the Home Depot. He needs an estimate for tearing out a bunch of cast iron drain lines, and so it's like, great, might as well run over there and make it a slightly longer day, but then go from there. But he's a roofer, like general contractor, handyman kind of guy, so who knows how that's gonna go. You always give them a number and they're like, I don't know about that, man, I could do it for less. I'm like, well, of course you could, but whatever, we'll see. So there's the hall lavatory, there's the master lavatory vent, and the hall toilet ties together, runs over here. And there's a bathtub, there's a shower over there. It comes down, ties together. And then the kitchen stack over there. All right, I'm back at the command center after running those calls. It's 8:24, so we were just over a 12 and a half hour day. Pretty good. And so now I'm gonna sit here and go through all those calls I booked for the following week and schedule those. Then I'll go through an invoice, type up receipts and send those to people, that sort of thing. Order parts, all the parts I went through today, I'll order those, and then I'll compile all these little videos I've made into one longer A Day in the Life of a Plumber video. So that is A Day in the Life of a Plumber.